Hello and welcome to McIver's Grant Public Library's Fairy Tale STEM, where we ask you to use your science, technology, engineering, and math skills to help a fairy tale character solve a problem. In each of our programs, we read two versions of the same fairy tale and then give you a STEM activity that we have all of the parts here at the library for. You can just pick up the activity kit. Today, we will begin this program with Hans Christian Andersen, his version, the original version, of The Emperor's New Clothes. This book was illustrated by Isabelle Brent and published by Little Brown and Company. The Emperor's New Clothes. I like it when they make books look like old fairy tale books. This one looks older, doesn't it? I like that. Many years ago, there was an emperor who was so mad about fashionable new clothes that he spent all his money on dressing up. He never inspected his army or went to the theater or drove through the countryside unless he had a new outfit to show off. He had different clothes for every hour of the day, and at any time when you might say of another king, "His Majesty is in the council chamber," you could always say of him, "The emperor is in his dressing room." The emperor's city was a hive of activity, and there were always strangers coming and going. One day, a pair of swindlers turned up, claiming to be weavers. Their cloth, they boasted, was not just of the finest quality and design, but had the virtue of being invisible to anyone who was stupid or not fit to hold their job. "What a wonderful cloth," thought the emperor. "If I wore it, I would be able to find out which one of my courtiers are unfit for their posts, and also be able to tell the clever ones from the stupid. Yes, I must have a suit made at once." He handed over a large sum of money to the swindlers so that they could start work straight away. So the swindlers set up a loom and pretended to be weaving, though in fact there was nothing at all on their loom. They coolly demanded the finest silks and the costliest gold thread, which they stuffed into their own packs and then carried on working at the empty loom at night, into the night. "I wonder how they're getting on with my cloth," thought the emperor, but there was one thing which made him feel uneasy, and that was that a man who was stupid or unfit for his job would not be able to see the cloth. Not that he had anything to fear, but all the same he thought it might be best to send someone else first to see how things were going. Everyone in the city had heard about the special virtue of the cloth, and they were all agog to find out how stupid or incompetent their friends were. "I will send my honest old prime minister to the weavers," thought the emperor. "He'll be the best judge of the cloth, for he's got brains and he's good at his job." So the honest old prime minister went into the room where the two swindlers were working away. "Good Lord," thought the old man, as he goggled at the empty loom, "I can't see a thing." But he kept that to himself. The swindlers begged him to be so good as to come closer and tell them what he thought of the cloth. "Do you like the design?" They pointed to the empty loom. But though the poor old man stared and stared, he couldn't see a thing. "Oh dear," he thought, "does this mean I'm stupid? I never had an inkling, and no one else must either. Or perhaps I'm unfit for my job. Whatever, no one must find out that I cannot see the cloth." "Now, do you like it or not?" said the swindlers. "Oh, it's charming, absolutely delightful," said the old prime minister, peering through his spectacles. "What a gorgeous pattern! I shall tell the emperor that I am most pleased with it." "You're too kind," said the swindlers, and then they described the pattern in detail, and the old prime minister listened carefully so he could repeat it all to the emperor, which he duly did. The swindlers now asked for more money, silk, and gold thread in order to finish the cloth, but it all went straight into their own pockets. Not a single thread was put on the loom. They just carried on weaving air. Before long, the emperor sent a second official to see how work was progressing and to find out when the clothes would be ready. The same things happened to him as happened to the prime minister. No matter how hard he looked, he could not see anything on the empty loom. "It's really beautiful, isn't it?" asked one of the weavers. "I'm not stupid," thought the official, "so I must be unfit for my job. If people found out, I'd be a laughingstock." So he too praised the material which he couldn't see, and said how pleased he was with its subtle shades and beautiful design. "It's quite exquisite," he told the emperor. The wonderful material was the talk of the town. At last the emperor decided he must go and see it for himself while it was still on the loom. He took along a number of courtiers, including the two honest officials who had already described the cloth, to see the two swindlers working busily at their empty looms. "Isn't it magnifique?" said the two honest officials. "Just look at the pattern, Your Majesty." And they pointed to the empty loom, sure that everybody else could see the cloth. "What's this?" thought the emperor. "I can't see anything. Am I stupid? Or am I unfit to be emperor? This is too awful for words." "Oh, it's wonderful," he said, "and it's everything I've hoped for." And he gave an satisfied nod at the empty loom. He wasn't going to admit that he couldn't see a thing. All the others that were there were in the same boat. They could see nothing, but they all saw what the emperor said. And so they all said, "It is wonderful." They told him that he should have some clothes made for the magnificent material in time to wear them at the great procession that was soon to take place. Magnificent, wonderful, superb were the words on everybody's lips. They were all delighted. The emperor gave each of the swindlers a knighthood with a medal to wear in his buttonhole and the title Knight of the Loom. The swindlers sat up all night before the procession, with more than 16 candles burning so that people could see how hard they were working on the emperor's new clothes. They pretended to take the cloth off the loom, made cuts in the air with huge scissors, and sewed with needles that had no thread. And finally they announced, "Look, the emperor's clothes are ready." The emperor came with his courtiers, and the weavers held out their arms as if they were carrying something and said, "Here are the trousers, here is the jacket, here is the cloak," and so on. The whole suit is as light as a spider's web. You'll feel as if you've got nothing on. That's the beauty of this material. "Yes, indeed," said all the courtiers, but they couldn't see anything, for there was nothing to see. "If Your Majesty would graciously take off the clothes you are wearing, we shall think it a privilege to help you into the new ones in front of the great mirror." And so the emperor took off all his clothes, and the swindlers went through the motions of fitting him with his new suit, even pretending to fasten the train around his waist. The emperor turned this way and that, preening in the mirror. "How elegant Your Majesty looks! What a perfect fit!" everyone exclaimed. "What a triumph!" Then the master of ceremonies announced, "The canopy of which carried above Your Majesty in the procession is waiting outside." "I'm ready to go," said the emperor. "See how well my new clothes fit?" And he did a final twirl in front of the mirror, pretending to admire his fine clothes. The chamberlains, who were to carry the emperor's train, fumbled on the floor looking for it. They didn't dare admit they couldn't see anything, so they pretended to pick the train up. As they walked, they held their hands in the air as if they were carrying it. So the emperor marched in the procession under the beautiful canopy, and all the people lining the streets or standing at their windows exclaimed, "The emperor's new clothes look so wonderful. They're the best he's ever had. What a perfect fit. And just look at the train." For no one wanted people to think that they couldn't see anything, and so was a fool or unfit for their job. Never had the emperor's clothes been such a success. "But he hasn't got anything on," said a little child. "Listen to the innocent," said the father. But the whisper passed through the crowd, "He hasn't got anything on. There's a little child who says he hasn't got anything on." Then at last people shouted with one voice, "He hasn't got anything on!" The emperor had the uncomfortable feeling that they were right, but he thought, "I must go through with it now." So he drew himself up to his full height, and he walked proudly on, and the chamberlains walked behind him, carrying the train that wasn't there. And that is the end. Do you think the emperor learned a lesson? What do you think about his advisors? Do you think they learned a lesson? Sometimes it's better to tell people we don't know something, isn't it, than to just pretend that you do and just wing it. Sometimes if you wing it, you'll figure it out. But if you talk together and everybody's honest, most of the time problems get fixed a lot faster than if somebody just pretends that they know everything. I do like that book. We're going to stop here, and then we're going to come back with another video, and we're going to read the second part of our Emperor's New Clothes STEM, and then we will talk about our STEM activity. See you in a minute.